You cannot meet with me Monday and Wednesday mornings. Why? Because I'm going stand-up paddleboarding with my wife. You can't. My calendar's blocked. My wife expects to go stand-up paddleboarding with me. I'm gonna fulfill on that. You can't schedule with me Tuesday or Thursday afternoons because I'm going e-foiling or wing foiling. I don't know what that is. What is that? You can't schedule with me. You can't schedule with me Friday afternoon, Mia, because I'm doing planning. I protect that time on my calendar.
How do you think, or have you had a client where you identify that they really don't have a regimen, I guess? They're not living by their calendar. I say sometimes, "Show me your calendar, and I'll show you your priorities," right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, if have you ever encountered a CEO that doesn't have that habit where they're kind of flying by the seat of their pants? And if so, could you tell me how you made that transformation or how they made that transformation or you encouraged them to make that transformation to actually build a habit of integrating their entire life into a calendar, if you
Sure.
know.
Sure, sure, and it's very common, Mia. So, yes, happens all the time. And it has to do with pressure. It has to do with I'm feeling like I have these 51 things I have to get done, and if I don't get them done, the company's gonna fail, or I'm never gonna put food on my table, or whatever the case may be. Um, and so, we may even talk more about this later, but having some sort of management framework is critical. Okay, some people use the traction framework, which is great. My favorite is OKRs. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what framework you have. You have to have a framework, though. And here, you have. Excuse me. You have to have a framework in place. And here's why. It's about accountability. So, I just went through this exercise with one of my CEOs. We installed OKRs as a framework, and I was reviewing them with my CEO, and I said, um, "You don't have any key results signed up for on this list of OKRs." Objectives and key results, if no one knows what OKRs are. And a key result is simply what are you going to get done that you're responsible for in the next 90 days that's measurable. So we added some key results for the CEO, responsibilities things they have to get done in the next 90 days. And now I can hold my CEO accountable, or they can hold themselves accountable, but somebody has to hold that person accountable. That creates enormous focus. And the beauty of that is the example I use later is recognizing there are a lot of things we'd like to get done. We're choosing not to do right now
Hmm.
because they're not the most important things right now. And this applies, by the way, to your personal life. So you can have your own, and I've developed this myself and I've developed this with other CEOs. What are the key things that I want to get done in my personal life? And you either develop a discipline of holding yourself accountable or you ask me to help you hold you accountable. And once you are in that accountability mindset, that's where you get things done.
Much agree. Very much agree. Um, but I wanna deep dive a little bit into the calendar idea because for me personally, I I really saw such a improvement in work-life balance specifically once I really integrated my personal life into a single calendar basically, or it's a shared view of a calendar where I can see all of my personal obligations and engagements along with my professional ones in a day and making sure that I'm sticking to that. But for me, it's been very hard to stick to it. It's easier once it's on my calendar for sure, and I tell my team, If it's not on my calendar, forget it. If it's a task, I have my assistant, let's say it's a goal, a 90-day goal. I know we all have to break up our goals at the beginning of a quarter.
Right.
So everybody has their 90-day goals. Take the time to figure out what that action plan is and break that out over the 90 days. But you don't, at the end of the 90 days, nothing will be done. Or you'll be 10% done, right? And this is how I look at this for myself as well. I completely agree with your idea of when you have that accountability, that's when you really see that transformation. When you have that accountability mindset, I think that's beautifully said. I I know I have struggled with holding myself accountable to my calendar on a daily basis. And if you have any idea about any advice for how to build that habit. Eh,
Okay, sure.
yeah.
Um, I won't show you my calendar, but I'll describe it.
Yeah.
So you cannot meet with me Monday and Wednesday mornings. Why? Because I'm going stand-up paddleboarding with my wife. You can't. My calendar's blocked. My wife expects to go stand-up paddleboarding with me. I'm gonna fulfill on that. You can't schedule with me Tuesday or Thursday afternoons because I'm going e-foiling or wing foiling.
I don't know what that is. What is that?
You can't schedule with me. You can't schedule with me Friday afternoon, Mia, because I'm doing planning. I protect that time on my calendar. Now, that's step 1. Step 2 is being true to yourself to say, "I blocked out that time. Now I'm going to do the thing I blocked out the time for. And I'm not going to be checking email, not going to be looking at my texts, not going to be wasting my time doing something else. I'm going to commit myself to get done what I've asked myself I want to get done, whether it's something fun or something working like planning." And so you need to create a discipline and hold yourself accountable and ask yourself, "Hey, if you didn't spend 2 hours planning on Friday afternoon, like your calendar said, on Monday, you need to ask yourself, what is it about my thinking that has enabled me not to hold myself accountable?" So this is about being self-aware. So it's not about beating yourself up. It's not about saying, "Oh, you're a terrible CEO." That's not helpful. It's just asking the question, what got in the way of me doing what I said was most important? And you learn about how you think about the world, and then you say, I'm going to change. Subtle changes in the way you think about the world will help you get done what's most important to you. And frankly, this is why I had a coach for 17 years. It's really helpful to have someone looking over your shoulder saying, how is that going? And holding you accountable.
Golden nugget, you guys. That is, yes, that's so helpful. So, what's one thing you've learned the hard way that you now consider non-negotiable in business? You've already given a bunch of golden nuggets, so give us another one.
Um, it's about people who aren't performing. So all of us, me included, come up with reasons why not to deal with that situation. Oh, but they were one of the first employees in the company. Oh, their spouse just lost their job. Oh, they're going through a tough time. Lots of reasons why we let people skate, or we hope they're going to get better. And we have to ask ourselves, and maybe you can run a company and say, I'm going to be benevolent. I'm going to do that. You can choose that. Most people don't choose that pathway. They say, I'm responsible to the shareholders to create the greatest value for the company. And so we have to make a decision when someone isn't performing well. There's a key question to ask. Am I willing to invest the time? And it's going to take my time as a CEO. Am I willing to invest the time to help that person get from this level to a great level or not? And I have to think about, what does that investment, what does that investment look like? And most of the time, it's a pretty big investment of time. And if you decide it's not worth it, you have decided to terminate that person. That doesn't mean you terminate them that afternoon because you might have to backfill, you have to find a way, but you're going to terminate them. And you want to make that decision quickly. And you look, it's a difficult decision. This is why we delay those decisions. We feel badly for that person. We know they're going to go through a bump in the road or maybe something more serious as a result of this. But we have to look out, or if we choose to do this, we have most CEOs who have investors have to look out for the good of the shareholders. But we can't delay these decisions. And we often do that. And we regret it. No CEO's ever said, "Oh, I wish hadn't fired that person a long time ago." They're always relieved when they finally do. There are rare circumstances, I'd say in maybe 15% of the time you ask that question, am I willing to invest the time to help this person get from this level to this level? And you say yes, but you have to make that commitment to help them get there. So that's one of the more difficult ones.
Yes. I would say I still sometimes struggle with this personally, but I know I struggled with it significantly more in my earlier years as CEO. And the two quotes that always come to my mind when I'm dealing with this type of decision is one, I don't think I've ever regretted terminating someone. That's
Right.
number 1. So, yes, you may not regret hiring them, but do will you regret terminating them?
I've never heard anybody say they've ever regretted
No,
terminating someone.
no, no. And then the second thing is you either coach people up or coach people out.
Right.
And their decision and really the decision is on them which bucket they fall in. If they're gonna be coached up or coached out. But I also think, and this is not really a quote, but I remember at a mastermind event, we were looking at how to make sure that the right person is in the right seat.
Right.
Because you may have a person in your organization who has got the values and the work ethic that they need to be a part of the group,
Right.
but may not be in the right seat. And so you also have to consider, my opinion, when if you're going to coach up, that's really when, well, if you haven't already figured that out, before you start coaching up, you have to make sure you're coaching in the right position, And you talked in the beginning about the sports analogy, which is actually something that I use a lot in my own organization, um, in terms of coaching and explaining the explaining the explaining coaching, what it is at its heart, at its core, is the sports analogy is usually a great way to paint that picture for a team member to explain, okay, if think of us as a sports team and your position is to make your role is to make a shot, to score a shot or to pop or to whatever I'm not a sports expert, so I won't give a bunch of examples here because I'll make myself look foolish, but I think everybody understands the point. If you have someone who should be a shooting guard in a different position, then that's your fault as the CEO.
That's right.
You need to transition them to another position if they want to do that. But my other point was going to be, when in this mastermind event, we looked at, does the person enjoy the role? Are they good at the role?
Mhm.
And what is that intersection? Do they fit into the the organization in terms of value alignment, and are they supportive of the mission and the vision? If they have those things, is what they're doing something they enjoy and something that they're good at, right?
Right. Right. Then that's perfect. The perfect match.
Yes. Yes. So, what's the difference between a great leader and a good one when it comes to business?
The way I describe being a leader is a leader creates followers.
Mm. Mm.
And so a great leader recognizes that it's not just about hiring great people, but it's getting those people to want to follow you. And how do you do that? You think about the way to motivate people. You give them autonomy. You help them become better at their job. You pay them well. You give them tremendous positive feedback when they deserve that positive feedback, and you're very honest with them about where they need to improve. You work with them in a way that causes them to say, I'm not going to find a better place to work than this. I'm not going to get all of these things somewhere else because the grass always looks greener and the recruiter does call. But ultimately, I'm creating followers, people who want to believe in my vision and believe in what we're doing and feel like everything's an opportunity in front of them as opposed to a grind.
So well said. Absolutely agree. What are the key indicators that a CEO needs to shift from doing to leading? And how do you facilitate that transition?
Um, I don't think there are any key leading indicators. It's the day you start.
Mm.
The day you start, you need to hire someone who you're going to start delegating to. Okay. And the CEO, yes, has certain skill sets that in certain cases, maybe 5% of the total cases of things that need to get done in the company, only they can do. But they need to find the team and delegate to the team 95% of the work. And that needs to start immediately. Every day, a CEO needs to ask themselves, how can I find someone who's better at doing this thing or a lot cheaper at doing this thing? Or, by the way, since we haven't talked about it yet, how can I get AI to do this thing for me? But you want to be the leader immediately. There's no waiting.
Okay. Do you have any advice around how to maintain visibility and traction on your annual strategic plan? And boy, I'm excited to hear this answer.
Well, we touched on it earlier.
Yep.
Have a management framework, and my favorite is objectives and key results. So, if you have a annual plan, what objectives and key results does is it break it down into quarterly segments. The reason that's valuable is people can put their head down and focus on a 90-day sprint. They can get into execution mode for 90 days. Now, every 90 days or so, we're going to lift up our head and say, are we doing the right thing? Should we adjust these? Are we on path to accomplish our annual goal? And that's a healthy exercise. But then we're going to go put our heads down now and focus on execution, which is what you want your organization to do. And so I find that, and I've been told by many of my CEOs, it was the most important change they made in the way they manage the company. And the beauty of it is everybody understands what they're supposed to do. We have great clarity on what we're attempting to get done. We can collaborate with each other because we understand what Mia's trying to do, what Glenn's trying to do, and we can work together. And this is also a tool for the CEO to hold everybody accountable. And the last piece is we can check in every single week in the one-on-one on how well we're doing against this key result we're trying to accomplish. So it has so many incredible benefits. I encourage anyone and everyone to use it. I use them myself.